What's going on, guys? We're back at Red Rocket. This time we're building some battle cars, which obviously this place has been inspired by Mad Max universe. So let's get into it. So the first thing I did was place a van, which was just floating in the air, so we had to do something about that. So I used shack support beams to place underneath the wheels, making sure I doubled them up so there was enough space for the wheels to go along. I needed a ramp to get the vehicle up onto these beams, so I used the shack roof and a sloped roof board to build that ramp. Remember, all the mods will be down in the description below with all the links and all that stuff. The platform was still looking a little sketchy, so I just placed a ton of shack supports. I then placed a shack bridge so the workers can stand on and work on the van. Finishing off the platform and ramp, I just dotted some roof boards down. Taking inspiration from the buzzards from the new Mad Max film, I used the mod place anywhere to resize and rotate the spikes, and then I placed them along the back portion of the van. Then I placed two Raiders spike poles to the back corners. Moving on, I used window boards and railings to block up the windows. Every battle car needs a battling ram, so I used two guard rails and just placed them at an angle. To protect the driver from flying bodies, I used an iron fence over the driver's window. I used a junk fence on the side of the vehicle simply to add more detail. I added another railing for the front, a comfy seat for the driver, then I put a metal bench inside just to separate the interior. To allow people to stand on the side of the vehicle, I used a shelf so they can stand on and a towel rail so they can hold on to. This vehicle was lacking one thing: weapons, so I took a minigun and placed it just in front of the passenger seat so you could use it and fire. To protect the wheels, I started covering them with signs, which then I came across this bank sign, so I placed it on the sides of the van, making sure I moved the handle so it wasn't obstructing it. Then I finished placing the signs over the wheels, making sure I mixed it up a little bit so it didn't look boring and plain. I wanted some crazy looking engine, so I just placed a generator in the back, slightly making it smaller than it usually is, just so it fits a little bit better. Moving on, I added some lights in the front of the vehicle before shrinking the generator down a little bit and slightly moving it so it just fitted a lot better. Then I added some railings to the sides of the roofs. The vehicle was pretty much done, but I needed a place for the workers to work. So I ended up placing down some pallets and some boxes so they can easily climb up to the vehicle. I placed a dolly underneath one of the boxes just to add some detail. Then, using the mod NORTHLANDDIGGERS, I placed down these cool looking craft benches, making sure I used some scrap from the area to blend them into the ground. Then I placed down a lamp, placed a platform and some steps on the other side, making sure I blended them in again, and then I placed a fire barrel and a stool, making sure the legs were actually on the wood and not just floating. I went back and ended up removing the lights because they just looked out of place, before I placed some steps for the rear platform. Then I moved on to work on another vehicle. I didn't want to just repeat the same kind of platform ramp idea, so instead I ended up suspending it with wires this time. So I started by placing 4 large power pylons. Then I placed a power counter that I'll get to later. To attach the wire to the vehicle, I just used power conductors in the 4 corners of the vehicle. I wanted it to look like a pulley system, so I grabbed a single wheel, rotated it a little bit, shrunk it down pretty small, and added that to the top of the pylon so it looked like the wire was going around it. And the power counter was meant to represent the wheel that would pull in the wire. I then repeated the same thing for each of the pylons, which I have to say took me quite a long time. If you haven't noticed already, the van doesn't have any wheels, so to start off, I placed a pile of wheels next to the van, which I ended up placing a flatbed cart and placing the wheels on top of it instead. I placed a single pallet just to break up the area a little bit, before placing a tool chest and a toolbox. Using the NORTHLANDDIGGERS mod again, I placed down a wasteland garage. I placed down 2 loads of stairs to the front of the vehicle just for support. Then I placed some breeze blocks to the back corner before adding spikes to the front of the vehicle. I added a railing to the front and the two back sides of the vehicle, which I ended up swapping the front railing out for the high-tech railing. The vehicle didn't have any seating, so I just used the airplane seats to place in the front, which gave me the idea to turn this vehicle into a carrier, so I ended up placing the same seats in the back. I then placed a railing to separate the front and the back, making sure the seats didn't glitch into it. As this vehicle was still being worked on, I ended up taking a row of seats out and just placing them on the ground. I needed a temporary solution so that workers can get in and out of the van, so I just placed some wooden shack stairs on the back lip. I placed down a shack bridge on one of the sides as a work platform, and then I chucked down a board just to mess up the area a little bit before adding some steps up to the platform. I ended up removing the spikes from the front of the vehicle as I felt they didn't fit. Then I added another one of them crafting benches and a scavenging station to the front of the vehicle. I placed down some steps for this side of the platform before adding the large cinder block stairs underneath the crafting bench just to blend it in with the area. To finish off, I added some toolboxes and then a campfire and a fire barrel to the side. And that's it guys, we are done with this video. I know it was only 2 battle cars and one of them was kind of half finished, but this settlement and this tribe is quite newly formed. I didn't want them to have lots of vehicles because it didn't really make sense to me. I wanted to make it look more like a work in process, so instead of going for like 10 amazing vehicles everywhere and probably crash my computer, I just simply wanted to go for 2 kind of cool looking but different vehicles to kind of start off, and then add some vehicles that are just plain and have nothing on them in the background that are obviously going to be used and built on in the future. So for now, thanks for watching guys. In the next episode we're going to be probably hitting up inside the red rocket itself. And if you liked the video, please hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and thanks for watching.